Welcome back to another episode with your Stanley Cup champion, Winnipeg Jets. And guys, it's going to be a fun offseason. We don't really have too much to do. We did so much in the last two offseasons to set us up for the future. Stankoven, Lundell, guys under contract. Maybe we bring back Jonathan Drouin and move on from one of the bottom six guys. But honestly, I think we're going to let him go because we have a medium elite. We were picking in the early part of the draft and we moved up. And we have a very, very exciting future. But we do have to talk to Coach Scott Arniel here. There you go, guys. In case you forgot, Scott Arniel wants to remind us that we did win the Stanley Cup. I do trust you, Scott. You're a good coach. You did well. And, us game planning together throughout the playoffs certainly helped. But there we go. The new salary cap is going to be $99.5 million. So if we take a look at the contracts that we have, really, I think it's, what is it? We're going to the 27-28 season. The salary cap is projected to be what? $100.5 million, I guess. Because the 27-28 season's coming up, we have $6.8 million in cap space. And as far as expiring contracts, it's just Jonathan Drouin. Now we will sign Bowman, so we don't lose him, but that'll be part of the re-sign phase. But Drouin, he's now up to an 86 overall. And as much as I'd love to keep him around, he's probably going to ask for like second line money. Okay, I guess. Yeah, he wants 3 years, and I don't think we can afford to do that because if we take a look at the main roster, just looking at the forwards, we've got our Connor, Ehlers, Scheifele line, Perfetti, Stankoven, Lundell. That's fantastic. Drouin was part of the Lambert and Nazar line, but Jordan Dumais, an 81 now, should certainly be getting time on that line with Lambert and Nazar. And then if we take a look at in the system real quick, we still have Rylan Sugihara. Morozov decided to grow like a fiend up to a 79, a third round pick from this past year's draft. He's 19. Bowman is 77 low elite. It's looking fantastic, guys. Dumais, I think, was playing instead of, who did we end up scratching? I think it was Dellandrea we ended up scratching down the stretch. He is medium top six. I guess he's got a little bit of potential, but he's not somebody that I'm overly concerned about. He's on a two-way deal anyway, so we can send him down and kind of bury some of that cap hit and pretty much, I think, shield ourselves from the entire thing. But maybe moving on from a guy like Nemesnikov would be the smart thing to do. He's got his cup. He's 34. He's signed for $2.25 for another year. Other than that, there's not really anybody else that I think is tremendously overpaid. We're paying all the guys we need to be paying, and upcoming contracts are Nemesnikov, Dellandrea, Chibrikov. Really, that's it as far as forwards. Now jumping back to the blue line just to assess our timeline here. Morrissey at 32. One more year left. So he's entering the last year of his deal. He is going to be asking for a ton of money. But the good news, we do have $28 million in cap space if we project out $100 million there. Zach Jones is going to be in due of a contract. Grzelcyk, I think we do want to move on from him. And then Colin Miller, I think he's completely fine as is. 81, he's not really dropping off. Grzelcyk has shown signs of aging, and at $5.5 million, not really the kind of guy I want anymore. But the good news is Zach Jones has grown a little bit, and hopefully will this coming season grow just a bit more. And then looking in the roster or in the system, that's really the big thing. So we can move on from Nemesnikov and Grzelcyk and find another defender to continue this going. We should probably spend our money, if we're going to spend it, on a free agent defenseman. An upgrade from Grzelcyk, move on from that contract, find somebody who's more worth the money that we're going to pay them to play with Mikey Anderson. And we still have Pionk and Morrissey going together. And I'll find you guys a right-handed defenseman as well. So I know some of you guys care strongly about the right-handed defenseman there. I'll find one for you. And then we goalie, it just doesn't matter. We got Hellebuck until he dies, essentially. But in the system, mocking in the high elite, we've got Daigle, who's medium starter, right? We've got a future AHL tandem here. I honestly think I want to maybe let Makinen play one more season without signing him, re-sign a guy like Milic or DiVincentis. And then play Daigle as the backup. So that's at least the plan for now. Let's go ahead, jump forward to the draft lottery and get all that stuff out of the way. And here we have it, the draft lottery. Columbus from 4-1, Pittsburgh from 8-2, Seattle and Buffalo were actually supposed to pick 1 and 2. They slide down as well as the LA Kings and everybody else that was behind Pittsburgh. So Columbus at the top. We'll see what they end up getting there. But we'll see. Viewing the retired players, Blake Wheeler finally does retire, and he is a member of the Colorado Avalanche, Brent Burns retires a Senator. Ryan Sutter, a Carolina Hurricane, but playing in the minors, it looks like. Drew Doughty, a member of the LA Kings still. Well, that's good to see some things don't change. Nick Foligno on Chicago. Jordan, okay. Carlson, Myers, wow, this is a pretty big one. So here, I'll just kind of scroll through it quickly for you guys if you were curious about any of these guys. And then how about goaltenders? Any goalie retirements? No, just Robin Lehner, essentially. Tokarski, Lehner, former Buffalo Sabres goaltenders. The both of them. But here we go. Giordano is now a coach. Oshie, Wheeler, Doughty, and Burns are all coaches now. Interesting. And then scouts, Sutter. Okay, yeah, there you go. You can take a look at that. And then coaches that are retired. Manitoba. Anybody from Manitoba? No. Anybody from Winnipeg? No. Okay, good. So none of our coaches retired. We can still bring them back if we wanted to. Taking a look at the draft interviews, it looks like there might be 2 franchise players in this draft. That is ridiculous. Landon DuPont here is insane. Medium franchise. And then there's also Theodore Bush from the DEL. So we haven't really scouted the DEL, but that's fine. We're not going up to 1. Pittsburgh, though, is probably going to find their Erik Karlsson replacement here, and Landon DuPont more like Chris Letang replacement. But Landon DuPont, really, really good offensive defense. And I'd love to go get ourselves the successor to Morrissey, but I just don't see that happening, guys. I really don't, unfortunately. But here we go. We are at the NHL entry draft. Let's just remind ourselves what kind of picks we're looking at. We are looking at a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So really having almost all of our picks and picking, and they're all ours. So we're picking 32 in all of these. As far as the depth chart, it's forwards are a strength. Prospects, I guess, are a slight weakness. We don't really have a ton of top end prospects. Actually, top end prospects is neutral, but we kind of get rid of top 9 prospects. And then defensively, we don't really have prospects in general. The depth is fine. The top 4 is fine. The top 4 is really good, actually. Let's be honest. Morrissey, Pionk, and Anderson are fantastic. But weakness in prospects. So if we could, I'd love to go up to number 2. That would be insane. I don't think it's going to happen though. Let's give it a look. We'll see. We'll call. First things first, we probably want to get rid of Grzelcyk in them, but let's just see what it would take to go up to number 2. And that's what it would take. It's quite a bit. Our high elite goaltender, Mikey Anderson, who's not moving. 5 years at $4 million for an 87. No chance he's moving. And then Jones, who's an 83. Still with a little bit of room to develop, so I don't think we're going up to number 2, guys. What we probably want to just focus on is moving on from some of our own pieces, right? If we moved on from Grzelcyk here. He's got a modified no trade clause, but that doesn't mean we can't move him. The Bruins want to give us a 3rd. I mean, there's some moderate picks here, just showing you guys. Vancouver. I mean, it looks like Pittsburgh wants him. I don't think he's going to be used in a trade to get up to number 2. As far as like prospects, we could get Reed and Franz. I mean, those are pretty low end. Get a 3rd, maybe. I mean, a 5th or a 3rd seems to be like the best thing we could get here. Bottom 6, I think that's really the best we could get. What if I package him with like Nemesnikov? Is anybody in the world going to want to give me something for these 2? Boston wants to give me a 2nd, and the Kings want to give me a 3rd and a 4th. I think I'll take the 2nd and Hopkins to ship off Grzelcyk and Nemesnikov. This feels like a very Boston trade, I'm going to be honest. The 2 guys, I mean, they're adding, what, $7.75 million for 1 year of the 2 aging players. I mean, this is honestly not too bad of a trade. You're getting 2 aging players, but they're decent for their roles. I think that Grzelcyk is overpaid, but we're going to clear up $7.75 million in cap space by moving on from these 2 players. And getting a 2nd, I think, is a great deal back. Maybe I could work something out now for the Penguins pick. Highly doubt it. I really don't think that they are going to want to give me number 2 as much as I'd love to get Landon DuPont. Yeah, I don't want to give up Mikey Anderson. That's like a non-starter. I'd give up the goalie. Makinen, I think I would give him up considering we've got Hellebuck for so many years, but Jones, Anderson, Makinen. I mean, Makinen has so much value, doesn't he? I mean, maybe I could give up one of our rookie skaters like Morozov. Oh man, I would hate to give up a guy like Morozov who we've seen grow tremendously. But they want him. He probably gets the deal done. He's a 2-way man. He is really solid 2-way, but he just can't skate. So I wonder if I did this. I mean, it's essentially, okay, if I did this, Morozov, be basically giving up Morozov and then maybe Daigle and a 1st. Well, Morozov and a 1st maybe gets it done. And what I'm doing here is mentally, I'm shifting a 19-year-old 79 medium elite forward for a franchise defenseman. So I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer to go up and get that franchise defenseman. Oh my God, we need to make that trade right now. I can't call a timeout. Oh God, Pittsburgh, don't you dare make this freaking pick, because I am trying to get this from you. So Morozov, throw him on there, and then draft picks. I'll throw on a first, and then, you know what, I could always throw on like our second next year. If this doesn't go through, maybe it does. Trade rejected wouldn't need to be at all. Okay, that figures. What about our second from next year? Rejected. Okay, they could live with it. What about goalies? Can I give up Daigle as well? Like, oh my God, Daigle isn't going to move the needle much, is he? Woefully insufficient. Ay. Do I give up the high elite goalie too? I mean, we've got Hellebuck for how many more years? 5 more years? By the day, he'd be 25, he'd be like right in his prime, but like, okay, they want the goalie. Let's see if we can give up the first. First and a high elite goaltender is rejected. Too far off. Okay. What else was I gonna give up? I guess I would throw in Morozov. It's a franchise defenseman, guys. What if I did Makinen and Morozov? Just the 2 prospects and keep the first? Trade accepted. All right. So we are going to go up to number 2 and do land Landon DuPont, medium franchise offensive defenseman. And really, guys, we have a couple elite prospects. I'm not even going to think about this one. Landon DuPont, welcome. He's a 73 offensive defenseman. Okay, so I'm a little bit upset about that. I was thinking that as a medium franchise at the top of the draft, he'd be closer to what we saw Theodore Bush, 81. But as far as an offensive defenseman, medium franchise, this solves our defensive prospect problem. And really, guys, I did give up quite a bit in terms of prospects. We do still have our first, which is good news. Rookie goalies. They've got now Makinen here. I mean, I'd love to get him back if possible. Rookie skaters, they now have Morozov, who is a much more promising prospect. He just doesn't have the skating, and I know that doesn't really matter in the sim. He's a really, really good-looking prospect. The shot's not there. I don't know how he's going to sim. I mean, he did really well in Russia. 55 points in 54 games is incredible. Maybe do I want to try and get him back? Do I want to try? I feel like trying to get the goalie back doesn't make sense because, first of all, we do have Daigle. And Makinen here, by the time he's ready to go, which should be 2 or 3 seasons, we still probably won't be able to get rid of Connor Hellebuck. Taking a look at us, Hellebuck, it would be, actually, we can get rid of Hellebuck starting next season. Interesting, guys. All right, Pittsburgh, can I have my players back, please? What would it take to get Makinen back and rookie skaters, Morozov? Anything? No trades found. Okay, what about just Makinen? To get Makinen back, we'd have to give up Anderson, next year's first, and Jones. I feel like I could throw in the first instead, because, I think that, honestly, Pittsburgh probably did pretty good. They've got a prospect who's much further along than Landon DuPont here and Morozov, and then the goalie. I honestly feel like it's not too terrible of a trade. I feel like if I did one back, goalies I feel like could be pretty easy to get. What about, we do have so many forwards, though. It's just, his timeline is a little bit too rushed for us. Anderson, a second and a third this year. That's not too bad to get Morozov back. But let's just be smart. How many roster spots do we really have? We've got Dumais, who we want to play. We've got Bowman, who we want to play. There's, not Wagner, but we take a look at the forwards, right? We've got Kyle Connor, Scheifele, and Ehlers. Scheifele maybe starts to regress in a year or 2, but he's going to put up so many points still with this top line, fitting, getting the +5. Even if he does start to regress, all of a sudden, we do have the ability to move on from him. But this first line's still great. This second line is fantastic. I wonder what somebody would give me for Drouin. But then all of a sudden, we got Lambert, who's a low elite. Nazar, Sugihara, Luchenko, Dumais. We've got Bowman, obviously. So it's tough to see. It's an embarrassment of riches, essentially. And we got ourselves a franchise defenseman. And if we couldn't pay Morrissey, which we should be able to, oh my God, he's the most valuable. He is the most valuable player in the organization, even more valuable than some of these other guys. That is crazy. All right. But Morrissey should be the most valuable guy in the organization for 1 year at 6.25. I know he's going to be turning 33, right? I mean, we have our succession plan right here. We have so much for a next generation. And yes, Morozov would have been great, but maybe it is the goaltender that we do need to get, because Daigle isn't doing as good. He's 20 and 72. So maybe just maybe we'll call Pittsburgh. But I think right now I want a left winger, Jonathan Drouin. Oh, wait, I got to do fine trade, not proposed trade. So I'll take a look here, guys. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but that was a lot, and I'm thinking that there might be something we can do. And I kind of figured this was going to be the case. Not many teams really want Jonathan Drouin, or are going to give, a lot of teams want him, but nobody's going to give up anything substantial. We got some prospects and whatnot, but I'll take the 6th because we know we can flip 6th and like next year 7th to get a 3rd. So we'll just do this deal and somehow upgrade Jonathan Drouin to a 3rd. I'll take it. And I am going to flip the 6th we just got plus a 7th to get 71st overall. So Drouin and a 7th go for 71st overall. That's an expired Drouin. That's crazy, guys. And while looking around, I would love to go get the Makinen back, the goalie we traded to Pittsburgh. But looking at what it would take to cost to get a guy like Yaroslav Askarov, an 87, 25-year-old, sure, he needs a contract extension. But, I mean, it would just take almost not Zach Jones, a 3rd and a 4th, or a 2nd, and a prospect goalie who's just a medium starter. It doesn't feel like a lot to go get a guy who would make an impact right away. And when Makinen has that much value, yes, I know he's a high elite goalie. That is quite a high price to pay, but we got ourselves a more important position, in my opinion, in the defenseman. And I mean, this isn't even that much to give up for Makinen. Anderson, I don't want to get rid of. Next year's first and Jones. Like, Jones is good, but he's on the last year of his deal. He's going to need a contract extension. He's an 83 who, we really haven't seen be amazing for us, right? 10 points plus 5. He'd probably be better served on another team. I'm going to be 100% honest. 13 and a half minutes is probably not enough for him. Giveaways to takeaway ratio, he does not take the puck away at all. Doesn't really block a ton of shots and does give the puck away slightly more than I would like him to, but he's still a plus 5 for us, 10 points. For an offensive defenseman, I think we're best served probably moving on from him, so I would honestly give up next year's first too, and this year's first to go get the goalie back. I really do, actually, now that I think about it. Wow, Kings, what a swing and a miss there. I know he's high top 4, so he's probably going to be a top 4 defenseman, but that feels like a pretty big swing and a miss. If we take a look at the draft class, though, before I go ahead and do anything else and make any more massive trades, as far as other high potential players, not really too many. We got some low elites, though, like Jonathan Stafford, Labrie here. Actually, that's 2 low elites that we definitely want to leave the draft with. 3 years away, 5 years away. They're both, 18? None of that 20-year-old low elite stuff. So there we go. That's pretty good. And as far as goaltenders that we were able to sleuth out, Myers here, 82, 4 years away, 19 years old, right? There's not many goalies in this draft class, so maybe. I do think we want to get Makinen back. But giving away our first wouldn't be the end of the world because we still have our 2nd round pick, although the 55th pick in the draft would be something we'd have to go maneuver for because I believe we're picking 64th. We're picking 64th in the 2nd round, so we'd have to move up a little bit, maybe giving up one of our future 3rds, but I'm going to see what I can do to swing that trade for Makinen. I really do want to see if I can get him back. So while Makinen does have the highest goalie potential in the game at high elite, currently, he's 71, 20 years old. I just scrolled a little bit. There's Carter George here for Philadelphia. Maybe not the best idea to take a Philadelphia goaltender named Carter, but at 81 and 21 medium elite, he could make a guy like Connor Hellebuck expendable pretty quickly, 1 or 2 years. Oh, by the way, he's got a 3-year deal at 800. Well, I guess maybe it's a 2-year deal because he probably played this year in the AHL. Yeah, he did. So he's got 2 more years left on his ELC. Would be our backup and be just fine. And oh, by the way, there's a deal right here. Daigle a 2nd and Delandria, a 2nd that we acquired from moving on from some of our from Nemesnikov and Grzelcyk. A 2nd we didn't plan on having. I think this deal makes a ton of sense, and all of a sudden, Comrie's out. And yes, we don't have a future goalie, but it is Carter George. I think it makes he's 21. One more year for like 21, 81. It's basically ceiling here when you're looking at Makinen. He's got 1 year to grow 10 overall points to catch up to Carter George. I don't know if it's going to happen, and I think I'd rather have that because I mean, like, guys, let's be honest. Hellebuck is no spring chicken. Taking a look at the goalies, I mean, he's 95, sure, exact franchise, but he's 34. Probably going to be turning 35. And you know what? I mean, he'll be probably, by the time 2 more years go by, right? He's going to have his note 27-28 and then 28-29. By the time we get to that 29-30 season, we could probably look to move on from him and play Carter George. I think it makes a lot of sense for Carter George to be the future succession plan. Now, if I can keep Daigle, that would be great. I'm going to see if I can take Daigle off because Daigle could be then the backup of the future. And we have just a contingency plan, right? But Daigle's not overly valuable. He's probably like a 4th round pick worth, right? You can see that right there. And then you go to draft picks. Yeah, it's really like a 4th or a 5th. So I'm going to throw in a 5th round pick this year. 2nd, Dellandrea, and a 5th for Carter George. It's trade accepted. There you go. And you can find medium starter goaltenders for like a 5th round pick. It's crazy. So Dellandrea, I'm totally fine moving on from him. We're looking pretty good, guys. I'm going to poke around at maybe some defensemen here at the draft that I could acquire rather than maybe battling it out in free agency with somebody. But we still have Jones. We still have Miller. We still have Ant, right? We're still looking fine. Maybe I'll find another younger medium top 4 defenseman who I can acquire with maybe some draft picks. But lots of moves happening, guys. I kind of love making moves at the draft. And I think I may have found our Grizzlick replacement. Now, it's not too much of an upgrade. Don't get me wrong. He's an 84, but it's Jordan Spence of the LA Kings. Top 4 defenseman with a little bit of room to grow, but at 84 offensive defenseman, his stats look absolutely insane. You give him a little bit of defensive and offensive awareness boost. I mean, he's a guy that just, is looking great. 38 points for the LA Kings, 23 last year. He had 26 in year number 1, and the Kings had... Oh, man. All right. Give me 1 second. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by somebody making their draft pick, you can see he's played a little bit on the power play, so that's definitely boosting it. But 15 minutes is perfect because that's what he'll be playing, is about 15-ish minutes. I didn't look at his giveaway to takeaway ratio, but he does not give the puck away almost at all, which is amazing, right? Does block about as many shots as Zach Jones, but... dude, I know he's 5'11", 180, so I guess he's not going to hit too much, but 5 is, just get to 10 next season. That would be great. Takeaway to giveaway ratio, though, is not too bad, but honestly, I think this is the perfect kind of player to pick up. Great passer of the puck, awesome puck mover. I know it's a bit more offensive-minded, but he is a right-shot defenseman. Not really much time to grow, but... 2 more years left at $3.4 million. The contract really is nothing to swallow. And then we're going to give up our first Salmonson here, who's, 22. Listen, he could be a 7th defenseman. That's cool. And then Zhilkin. I took Daigle off this trade because they wanted Daigle. I didn't want to do that, but it's close. Okay, I got to probably throw in a little bit better of a player than that. So if you take a look at the goalies, where is Daigle? Okay, yeah, he's a little bit more valuable than that. So if we just take a look at the draft picks, would you guys take a next year's 6th instead? They want it, so maybe they would. Rejected. All right, so but instead of a 6, we'll give you next year's 5th. We'll see what we can get done there. And okay, so they still don't want it. Maybe now I can throw in Zhilkin. They really did want what's his face though. Daigle, it seems. But they want Phillips, too. Phillips does fit the bill for them. What is he? Medium top 6. He's apparently in the NHL. He was, I guess, Isaac Phillips. That's right. I remember this guy. Between him and Lassie Thompson, I think I'd rather keep Lassie Thompson. Isaac Phillips. Was that float your boat? Trade. Oh, my God. Oh, it's 2 players for the same thing. Of course. All right, give me a second. I'm going to get it to go through. Don't you worry. And there we go. We got to go through. I threw in a next year's 5th and a future 7th. From 2 years from now. So there we go. Done deal. That's the kind of thing about when you swap your when you swap your 6th and 7ths for 3rd round picks. Yes, it's a great value, but I'm not throwing a 3rd round pick in this deal. Probably, right? I could have, and we probably would have been fine. But there we go. So we got ourselves a new defenseman. welcome Jordan Spence. So we are going to move up to 52 so we can take one of those 2 low elite prospects, and it's going to cost us Eric Comrie in a second. And honestly, I've been looking to dish Eric Comrie anyway, because now that we got Carter George, his job's kind of taken. And the second round pick, well, we're just moving up 12 spots. So swapping seconds. I'm cool with this. So I am going to do this deal. Thank you, Eric Comrie, for your service. I'm glad we got you a cup. Enjoy Vegas. Go gamble your salary away, dude. Go have fun. And here he is. The first player we are going to go ahead and draft is Jonathan Stafford. Might be a two-way forward, might be something else. At 6'3" with terrible skating and a good shot. It leads me to believe he's a power forward. But he's a low elite 18-year-old. I'll take it, right? It's another one of those, if he develops, he develops. That's tremendous for us, like Dumais and so many of the previous guys before him. If he doesn't, then we just use him as trade bait because he's got a decent amount of value. So we are going to go ahead and take Jonathan Stafford here, low elite, and he is 62 overall, two-way forward. Okay, so he is a two-way forward. Decides to stick down that lineage, and there you go. You can see nothing too tremendously special, but at 62 overall, we'll give him a year to develop on his own, I think. He's probably coming out of college, so we'll let him stay in college, and then we can just give him a ton of ice time. And we've got a couple picks to play with before we go ahead and take Labrie. I believe he was like 105 or something like that. I'll make sure we don't lose out on him, but honestly, guys, we might just take our picks. Here we are at pick number 7 in the 3rd round. They're saying Mason Murley is a gem. He's 4 years. I don't know what would make this guy a gem. My eyes are piqued by Trenton Couturier here. Another offensive defenseman, but looks like he's got really good actual stats. Just defensively not the greatest. 4 years away at 17 is pretty good. And as a low top 4 defenseman, that's probably a pretty good value here. We could go after a Jose Myers here, another goaltender prospect. I mean, there's no way he's actually got anything like that, right? 2-bar starter is pretty good, though. We could get ourselves another swing on a goalie. Mats Persson here. Don't really know too much about him. I think I'd like to take the low top 4 defenseman and then just see what happens elsewise. I've not really found gems to be that telling of anything. I guess they think he's a gem, and maybe he's not. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. The only other guy that has piqued my interest here is Jose Myers, but I doubt it. That he is actually, I mean, with 4 years away at 19, he's a little bit on the older side, right? So, of course, he's going to be 4 years away, not 5 years away, so don't get fooled by that. I'm telling myself here. We're going to take Trenton Couturier, just continuing to add defensive prospects for us to hopefully cheer for and add to the pipeline because, well, when some of these guys go, well, we don't really have much down there. So let's go ahead and grab ourselves Trenton Couturier, defensive heavy in this draft, and make the pick. He is 61, low top 4. So we knew he was going to be a low top 4, but there we go. And you can see another guy here that let him develop with whatever he's doing and then give him a bunch of ice time in the AHL. I just want to see if they make a pick for that goalie. McGillney, a medium elite playmaker. I had no idea this guy was even close. So that feels a little bit bad to 2 picks later see a medium elite go. But Murley, was Murley the Mason Murley? Was he the gem? I can't remember. He might have been. Taking a look. Olsen, nope, not worthwhile. Pittsburgh, you're gonna get yourselves a goal. Moros, okay. Where's that goalie going? Okay, I was gonna say Pittsburgh. I thought I had 3 of the next 4 picks here. Pittsburgh is gonna take Wellwood. Is that guy really falling that far? Solovyov, okay. Where's the goalie? Everybody's taking defenseman. That goalie's still just chilling there. Jose Myers. He has fallen quite far, so we just take a quick look at the draft class. He probably is like the next person. Yeah, he's the next person on the board. Ottawa, don't have to worry about them because they're not in our conference. They don't take him. New Jersey, are you going to take him? They take Persson. Wow, he's fallen. He's sliding, and there he is. Medium fringe starter. Glad I didn't get tempted by the idea of another phenomenal goalie. So let's go ahead and jump to our next pick. I believe it's 96. Labrie is 107, so we'll probably end up taking him there if we can't move down a couple picks, maybe for next year's fit. So somehow we're here at pick 89 because I wanted to throw in just a nothing prospect, medium bottom 6 potential, and our 3rd. And Edmonton wanted to move back and give us a 7th for that. So we're here at 89. We're gonna and I tried to mess around with a ton, but it just it hurt my head. I'm so annoyed by it. So we're just gonna take Rene Labrie here, the low elite defenseman, another good defenseman to add to the pipeline. Pretty far away this guy is though. So Rene Labrie, go ahead. Welcome to the Winnipeg Jets. It might be a minute before we see you at 50 overall. But there we go. 3rd round pick, 25th overall. I'll take that. Defensive defenseman this time too. So we are kind of balancing out the offensive minded players we have. So I may find a trade for our picks because I'm pretty satisfied with where we're at. A 4th and a 7th might fetch me, who knows, a 1st next year. I'd probably take the 3rd from like the Sabres or something like that. As I flip through here, there's just a bunch offered to me. So I'm going to find a deal. I'll let you know what it is in a minute. But for now, I think I'm all set. I'm just going to wrap up the draft. And there we go, guys. We have successfully finished the 2027 draft, landing Landon DuPont, the medium franchise offensive defenseman. Stafford, who is I believe he is low elite. Couturier, who is low top 4. And then Labrie, who is low elite. So a very, very good looking draft for us there. I'm pretty happy with it. And we picked up some future picks. I ended up getting Buffalo's 3rd for our 4th and 7th, as well as a 2-way forward prospect that honestly at 19 doesn't look too bad. He was kind of a throw-in for them. To me, I think he's going to be a decent AHLer. But let's go ahead and get to the re-sign phase. Only our coach, Scalibri, I think it was, needs to be re-signed. A bunch of scouts. I'll take care of that. And there's really not many guys here that, well, are worth the headache for the expiring deals. We got Bowman, who obviously we want to give him his ELC. There's no need to enter a negotiation here. He's just going to accept this. Beautiful. He's back. And then Rasmus Kupari, Toninato, Vesalainen, Lundmark. I would like to bring back Lundmark, I believe. Yep, 3 years. Now we'll just give him a 2-year deal. He'll accept it right away. And this is going to make my life so much easier. Cassivi, yeah, this is the guy I got from Buffalo. Listen, at 71, 19, he's not tremendous, but you look at this guy, I mean, you could do worse for an AHLer that has potential to be a 3rd liner someday. You could do much worse when giving up your 4th and 7th. And I upgraded the pick and I got a prospect out of it. So he just can't skate, but that's nothing new that we're unaware of with it when it comes to our team. But really, guys, this is it for expiring contracts. I'll make sure everything's all set, and then we'll jump ahead to free agency, where we probably want to pick ourselves up a defenseman. We're taking a look here. Actually, we don't need to pick ourselves up a defenseman because we have Spence, and we're in a really healthy position cap-wise. We'll probably start signing our own players back. A guy like Josh Morrissey, we'll see at 32. Maybe I can get him on a 3-4 year deal. Maybe no trade protection. I'll probably end up having to put trade protection in there at some point, but we'll talk about that in a couple days. We are at July 1st. The coaches and scouts have been offered the contracts to join the team. And I just wanted to give you guys an update on what the roster looks like. And we have our forward core essentially set. There is nothing I feel like I need to do here. We've got Connor, Scheifele, Ehlers. That first line may be broken up with the addition of Sugihara. I mean, the ability to put Sugihara on the first line, play him with like Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, could just catapult him into the stratosphere as far as how quickly he could be elite. And then that would mean like Ehlers would go with Perfetti and Stankoven, but for now we'll just talk about it as they are ranked in overall. So we'd have Perfetti, Stankoven, Lindell. We know that's a great second line. Lambert, Nazar, Dumais. I think that's totally fine as a third line, right? It's a couple snipers, a youngsters goal scoring line. And then Luchenko, Sugihara, Chibrikov, right? So maybe Dumais has to play on the fourth line, or Lambert, probably not Lambert. So probably want to find some roles for these guys, but I think a guy like Sugihara here playing center could go up to that top line as a sniper. Depending on how much he develops in the offseason, we'll see. But I feel like putting him on the top line as a 19-year-old, he's got as much cushion as possible, and he could be ready to take over for Scheifele in just a year or two. Then defensemen, we still have Morrissey and Pionk, Anderson, the newly acquired Spence, Jones, and Miller. What I'm thinking about doing, too, is adding a defenseman in free agency here, but we only have $21 million in cap space, and we have some extensions to talk about. Obviously, in goal is still Carter George and Connor Hellebuck. Now, here's the thing. Connor Hellebuck no longer has a no-movement clause, has a modified no-trade clause. So at any point that we feel like that Carter George is ready to take over for Hellebuck, we can do that. But let's take a look at the expiring contracts on the roster. The big one is Morrissey, but there's also Zach Jones. So that's $21 million. Miller as well. Maybe we can find an upgrade for Miller in free agency and sign that person to a longer term deal. Maybe they're 28 and give him a 3-year deal, and we work it out from there. But Morrissey is probably going to ask for a lot of money. Let's see. What does he exactly ask? $15 million for, that's 3 years. $15 million, though, is a crazy amount of money. I could maybe get him to take a little bit less. A no movement clause that goes to, I think, a no trade clause, or maybe it's a no movement plus no trade clause. I don't know what exactly the difference between the two would be, but the full no trade clause doesn't really seem to... He doesn't want a no trade clause, it seems. Oh, when I get to 90, it goes up a little bit. So we want as much trade protection as possible. He doesn't want this one. He would like a nope. He would like a no movement clause. That would really float his boat. And I can't move it up, and I can't move it down. Oh, I could move it up. It would have... Okay, so we could go to a 96% no trade clause, which would mean I would get rid of that no movement clause at the end of it. I don't know why. Oh, okay. I guess maybe if I flip them, let's see here. 87% with the... Okay, he just loves the idea. What is... I don't know what's happening right now. I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't... Okay, you know what? We're going to leave it at that. 83%, 16... I mean, that would be easy, I feel like. And then we could drop this down probably a ton. Probably down to... Oh my god, yeah, he would take up so much of the cap. But if we got him at like 14 million for 3 years... By that time, I feel like DuPont would be ready to just step in. 14 million for 3 years is really not that bad. He's 32. Plus, we do have an out in the deal. He's probably going to accept this extension, and that would leave us... well, we had 21 million. We'd have 7-ish million available to extend a guy like Zach Jones. So I honestly think that I'm going to do this deal and just do it now because it's never going to get cheaper. I don't know what the difference between the no movement and... you know what? No, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it there. I think 3 years at 13.9. Oh, can we get you at 13.75? Squeeze every dollar we can out of this, as long as I feel like he's in that 2 bucket. That second bar. Yeah, see that drops off a ton, but like 13.6 would save us another 0.4 million. Feel like this would be a fine deal. 3 years at 13.6. Remember, guys, it's only 13.7% of the cap currently. I think in the NHL. The cap is 88 million, so if we multiply that by 13.7, it's about a $12 million deal currently. So, it's still rich. Like, I think Rasmus Dahlin's making like 11, so it'd be one of the highest paid defensemen in the league, but he did just win the Norris in a contract year, essentially. What am I going to do about it, right? 3 years at 13.6, though, I feel like we'll be plenty fine, and he's obviously a guy we want to keep around. I would rather get rid of other guys than Morrissey, at least for the first 2 years, right? He's going to be 34. He's exact franchise. I think I'm going to give him this deal. And he's going to take a few days to get back to me, but you just take a look here. I don't know why it's only giving me like 15 million in dollars, like actual money to spend, but you can see it's down there, 21 million. 21 million. We do have quite a bit of depth to sign, but these guys are mostly on two-way deals. Colin Miller wants a contract extension. He's not exactly thrilled to be here. I mean, I guess 2 years, 2 years at 2 million would be nothing for him. And then Zach Jones offering him a contract extension here. He's going to want a couple years at about the mid... I mean, honestly, mid-threes is totally fine for a guy like this, but I won't have the extension dollars to give to him. Now, the question is, who is expiring in 2 years? Well, the good news is not really any of the big guys. Connor, Ehlers, Scheifele, Pionk, Perfetti, Stankoven, Lindell, Anderson, they're all signed. And then Dumais, Sugihara, Lambert needs a contract. Nazar, Luchenko. So those are the guys that are going to need a contract. Same thing with Spence. He's going to be a UFA. But honestly, I feel like we'll navigate that when we get there, which is why being able to move on from a guy like Scheifele and having his replacement ready-made, maybe it is Perfetti, or maybe it is Sugihara, might be the move. Maybe moving on from Hellebuck in this season when Carter George gets his contract. Maybe there won't be any savings. Says Carter George is going to ask for $8.5 million. I doubt it, but you never know. We've got some waters to navigate, but they're not treacherous, right? We could always get rid of a guy like Perfetti if we had to. I don't want to. We could get rid of Pionk in the last year of his deal when hopefully DuPont is ready to come through and maybe take Pionk's role before he takes Morrissey's role, right? There's things that we can do here. Not really signing a UFA, not really in the cards here because I can't really give them a multi-year deal with Morrissey's contract taking all of our cap space. I hate that. Like, it says we have 15 million in extension dollars. I have 21 in cap space. If anybody has an explanation for that, let me know. But as far as players out there, I believe I do need to sign one AHLer so we can at least peek at the free agent list. And oh my goodness, there is a Shane Wright out there, and he's an RF. Okay. Nico Hischier, Ross Colton, Gabe Velarde. Gabe Velarde's back in free agency. He's got truculence and skilled up. Yeah, okay, yep. I think I made the right call. Moving on from Velarde and keeping Cole Perfetti, 68 points. I mean, they matched each other in points. He was a -8, though. He was getting 20. He was playing first line ice time for them. That's a ton. Takeaway to giveaway ratio is really good. He hit a ton. I mean, he's not an awful player, but he wasn't doing too much for him. I mean, it didn't make the playoffs, so it is what it is. In that regard, there is Jonathan Drouin asking for 4 years at $5 million. We could have got him at like $3.5 million, which I think is really cool that he was going to take a discount to stay in Winnipeg, which not many players will do. But we'll take a look at the goaltender market as well, and there you go. You can see that we could sign Jacob Markstrom for $6 million for 1 year. We could sign Lucas Dostal for 4 years at $6.5 million, or Gibson, right? So there are guys out there that we could end up signing, for the future. Should like that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not exactly upset by getting rid of Makinen. I think it was Makinen. That's his name. The goalie we traded to Pittsburgh. So we'll see how his career goes. We'll keep an eye on it. But let's take a look at the potential players here with a little. Yeah, this is exactly the kind of guy I go after. Is Gushin here? 25 wants a two-way deal. Let's see who does want it. Yeah, see there you go. Two-way deal. 80 overall. What is he, an RFA? No, he's a UFA. Playmaker, 80 overall. Bork here. Maverick Bork at 25. He just can't defend at all. Sordif could be another guy, but at 75 at 25, it's probably between Gushin here, who's a Daniel Gushin, or Maverick Bork, and I think I would like to bring in Maverick Bork. He would love to come to our team, and can I give him, $1 million for 2 years? How cheap can I get him? Should I have to call him up? Okay, 0.95 for 2 years, 80 overall, UFA at the end of the deal. Totally fine with this. Bring him in. He's not going to affect the Morrissey signing either, so we'll offer that contract. Welcome to the team, Maverick Bork. And there we go. Sugi, Rylan, no, you are not in the same role. You are a second overall pick, my dude, with medium elite. If you're comparing yourselves to a 25-year-old who's a fringe NHLer, what are you doing, buddy? Anyway, all right. That aside, I think that's the only signing we're making this year. Maybe I could trade Colin Miller and go after somebody, but really, I don't think there's anybody as good, as proven to be a good player in Winnipeg. I mean, we could go after Gavrikov here, who's a couple overall points better and wants a similar contract. Basically extending. Oh my God, he wants 2 years at 1.1. I feel like 2 years at 1.1 for a Gavrikov just makes sense. Okay, 1.2, 1.3, 1.25. Okay, I could definitely get him at 1.1. I would just have to take a couple days. But I feel like getting Gavrikov at 1.1, that's another year essentially of Colin Miller. This makes sense to me. This would probably be the replacement for Colin Miller, and I think I'd be fine with it. Why would I not do this deal? I'm sorry. I'm trying to talk he's a defensive defenseman. We don't really have many of those. Probably helps the penalty kill, which we've seen in the past has been a problem. Sorted by overall, 1.5 Gavrikov, and he wants less for 2 years, and he's like the same age as Miller. I'll give him that deal that he's asking for, 1.1 for 2 years, and if he accepts it, I think we move on from Colin Miller, because Colin Miller is probably a more valuable asset. Like Colin Miller is what, an 83 though, or is he down to an 81 now? Colin Miller, no, he is down to an 81. He is 3 years older. We would save $1.4 million on the cap, and next season we'd have another defenseman for this role, that sixth defenseman role. I think it's a win. I'm glad I checked. I'm glad I did check. That kind of stuff doesn't pop up very often, so I'm pleased about that. So we'll jump forward. I'll maybe make a trade with Colin Miller, but a lot's happening, guys. I expected this to be a quick, simple, easy episode, and I've got a lot of editing to do. Jumping back in quickly to say Columbus wants to go through the Patrick Laine experience again. They acquired him and a 5th round pick for 2 second round picks this year and next year a second. So I just had to chuckle because I'm not used to seeing the trade alert pop up at the bottom while I'm just in the off season doing stuff. So that was a pretty fun one to show you guys. And the good news is Josh Morrissey is going to accept. So everything we do now will be accurate, and there is no losing our franchise defenseman because we don't have quite enough cap space. And Gavrikov is going to accept our offer, and he's pleased with our interest. And there we go. That was a quick signing for him. I mean, honestly, you just view the contracts of who's who. And taking a look at defensemen, I'd probably say we can move on from Colin Miller. I can't believe we got Gavrikov for 2 years at 1.1. I mean, I don't know what, I guess we're just throwing together the LA Kings defensive core again. But it does give us some flexibility, although we did just acquire another lefty and are going to get rid of a righty. But honestly, guys, I'll get rid of Colin Miller. Top 6 defenseman. Is Gavrikov think he's a top 4? He does think he's a top 4. That's going to be a problem because he's not going to fit the chemistry. But it is what it is. We'll deal with it when we get there. But Colin Miller, we'll see what we can get for him. And I'm going to get what I can for a guy who could turn into a locker room cancer. Should he just not play, right? It doesn't make any sense. We don't have injuries on, so I don't have to worry about that. Otherwise, I would keep him. And right, it would make sense to have these. We'd have a stacked 7 defenseman core. Holy cow. But I have to laugh. It's Pittsburgh and Boston calling me again for a trade. I think I'm going to send him to Boston. All my old guys are going to Boston. All my young guys are going to Pittsburgh. I think we're going to kind of play with 3 teams here and see what we can do. No, Colin Miller's 1-year deal is going to Boston. I'm going to get a 5th and a 7th. We know we can turn those into future thirds or current thirds or seconds if we get lucky. So we're going to do this deal. Thank you, Colin Miller. Another Stanley Cup champion going to spread his expertise with the rest of the league. Here we are, guys. I just decided to take a quick peek at the lines. I just wanted to see everything, and holy cow! This team is ridiculous. We've got X Factors up the wazoo. Stankoven has puck on a string close quarters. Perfetti has magnetic, ankle breaker, and shock and awe. Lundell has wheels and puck on a string, and wheels for an 81 speed. Rylan Sugihara down here is an 82, but I kind of want to put him, oh man, Luchenko down there, Dumais an 85. I kind of feel like something, oh my god, we get 2+5s. I feel like putting Sugihara on the wing. Kyle Connor, can you play right wing? No, he can. That's okay. I think we'll be all right. We got Scheifele who can shoot left-handed or right-handed, so we'll be fine there. But putting Sugihara on this top line as a sniper who can just feed off of Connor and Scheifele, and then Ehlers, I know we're paying him $11 million, but he's going to play on the first-line power play. He's insane. And I mean, it's a 4-team no-trade clause. It's ridiculous. We did 5 years left at $11 million, and he's 31, right? So like, he's going to play with Perfetti and Stankoven, so if we can't get a plus out of this second line, that would be crazy. Lambert shifts to the wing so Lundell can play center. Lundell could play wing. He's got 78. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to do this. We're going to do that. Lambert is now listed as a third liner, and Dumais is a third liner, so that's cool that we were able to. We traded for Dumais. Frank Nazar hasn't developed, and that's a little bit disappointing. He's a guy that maybe we move on the trade block as a sniper. I mean, he's got potential, but he's been good. He's been good. Could be a guy that we end up moving next season. I mean, I guess I say he's been good. He was pretty negative last year, but we're talking about guys filling roles. Maverick Bork here is a playmaker. I don't know if I want him being down there. Zach Jones, 84. Yeah, Chibrikov, 82 could slot in and probably provide us something better than Nazar, but definitely Bork. So I am going to move Bork out for Chibrikov in. We get a +2 down there, as this is insane. We get the 2+5s alone are ridiculous. And then Sugihara is just going to, he might be a point per game player as a rookie. Is he good enough to be up here? No, but with the +5, he's an 87 playing with a 101 and a 99, if that even works like that. Looking at the defense, oh my god. Oh, okay. Whew, I was going to say we had 2+5s. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Pionk, though, now has gold. Spinorama, I believe I can't remember if he's had that or what, but I don't know why Zach Jones is scratched, but he fits there. He's going to play with Gavrikov, who doesn't quite fit, and then Spence, who is sort of a fit, right? So we can see how he fits more the third. Oh my god. Mikey Anderson has no contest, Jesus. And Josh Morrissey's now a 97 overall with 98 passing, 99 offensive awareness, 99 defensive awareness, 98 holy crap, this guy is worth $13.6 million. Oh my god. We could trade him now if we wanted to, but nope, definitely not gonna do that. Oh my god. And then in goal, how are we looking? Oh my god. Hellebuck. Guys, this may be straight up the best team I have ever built in Shell. I don't think I've ever seen me have this kind of X factor, this kind of overall. This team is ridiculous. To think that this team is probably better than last year's Stanley Cup champion team is kind of crazy to think about. And sure, maybe I'm glossing over the fact that Sugihara is our first line right wing. Well, that's fine, because now our third line would probably be him at an 82 with an 84 and 85. That's basically what it was last year. It's the same thing. Frank Nazar with Chibrikov and Luchenko. The defense is better because we don't have Colin Miller or a declining Grzelcyk. And then in goal, I think it's an upgrade because Carter George is an 83 and Hellebuck's a 90. Okay, yeah, sure. He's maybe not a 96 like he was, but holy mackerel, guys. Like, this team is insane. This is insane. I've never seen anything like it. And then we look at the AHL. Hello, we have a ton of high 70s for the forward core. Defensively, Bjornfoot is an 80. Oh my God, guys. This organization is in such good shape. Goalies, Daigle and Milic. Guys, it's looking really, really good. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, if you guys have any other comments, I think I like these lines. I think I'm going to ride with these lines. Maybe I'll tell Sugihara to learn how to play right wing. His skating isn't the greatest, so he may be opposed to that. But it's probably better to try and convince him now than later so that we can maybe get that in there. But him at center would be phenomenal after Mark Scheifele's gone. I mean, he's just turned 19. Scheifele's 34. We got, oh yeah. I think we have our perfect succession plan here, guys. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Holy cow. And we have a medium franchise, Jordan DuPont, coming up too for the blue line. Oh my God, this team is ridiculous. Oh, where is Bowman? I got to make sure Bowman's playing. Oh, he's playing on the first line. Perfect. And yeah, I'll just try and convince him there. Whew. All right, guys, there's more coming. This is going to be a fantastic year to see if we can break some NHL records with this team, because this team +5/+5 is crazy good. But guys, that is all the time I have for this one. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see some more, and I will see you guys in the next one.
It's a free for all, free